Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Elevate with C&M Coaching. My name is Maggie. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I want to talk about a topic that has come across my desk. What I have for you today is a competitor phone call. It was an inbound mystery shop call placed into a dealership, and it brought this topic to my attention, I guess I could say. Basically, when I attend events or I speak at events or I meet people and traveling and talk about what it is that I do, a lot of times other people try to bring their ideas to me and try to tell me all about how they handle their phone calls and talk about what they think is right. So I thought since we have this situation here where we have an alternate method of handling a phone call from this competitor shop, this would be a perfect example to play for you and talk to you about because it is a lot different than anything I teach. If you find something that works for you, that's great. Even if it's different than me, perfect, awesome. Use what you think works for you. But I think we should listen to this together and talk about it. So, what I have here is an example of a phone call that we have. And I wanted to play it and I wanted to kind of talk about some of the techniques that are used in here because one of the things that I also struggle with as a trainer is trying to make sure that none of my clients are perceived as the reason why used car dealers have a bad name in this industry, because we all know that it's a thing and we all know that it happens, and there are certain situations and lawsuits and circumstances and things like that that have definitely negatively impacted the used car business. I have a lot of clients that are truly out there to help others. Will do anything they can to try to help that single mother of two get into a vehicle and help her in any way they possibly can. So, when I hear phone calls that are questionable as far as integrity is concerned, naturally these are going to pique my interest and my attention, and I'm going to want to listen to them and I want to talk about them because I think there's a lot that you can do with the word track that doesn't necessarily need to make it um, untruthful, or it doesn't need to be a fabrication or make the customer question our dealership's integrity or lies in order to get your customer in the door. Like, we can use basic customer psychology and the actual processes that we're trying to implement at our store to get customers in. We don't need to lie to people. So I want to play this call and I want to talk about it and kind of go through some of the things in it that I disagree with. And if you like it and you love it and you want to try this type of call in your store, then, by all means, that is 100% your choice. But I think that we can do things in a much more reputable way that won't hurt our industry and that 100% is honest while still accomplishes our sales goals. Let's check it out. So to begin, I'm deleting about 20 seconds of an auto attendant asking us to press 1 for this, press 2 for that, etc. Deleting an additional 19 seconds of hold time. So at this point, it's been about a half a minute and we haven't spoken to anyone yet.
Thank you for calling. How can I help you today? Excuse me.
Yeah, I was looking. Y'all have a 2010 ML350?
Okay, so you're calling about the 2010 ML350?
So this is a common sales technique. I've heard a lot of people do this over the years where they repeat word for word exactly the question the customer asks. The idea behind this is that you get an opportunity then to acknowledge your customer's question and then move into controlling the conversation. However, if you're going to do a technique like this, I suggest that you execute it slightly differently because we're not looking to repeat it word for word. We're not trying to literally quote the customer. Instead, you want to try to acknowledge it by mentioning something related to it. Oh, so you're calling about the 2010? Yeah, I'd be happy to check on that for you. That's a really nice vehicle. Every time we get those in, they go quickly. I want to make sure I still have it for you. Now, what is the best number for me to reach you back on while I'm checking? Is that a home number, a cell number? Anything along those lines like that allows you to gain control of the conversation. So you can start with acknowledging their question and then compliment the vehicle and create urgency. And you're free to use whatever verbiage here you want to accomplish those two things with, but those are the first two things you want to do. Compliment, create urgency, and then obtain contact info using your inventory as leverage to need the contact info.
Yeah. I was looking. It didn't have a price listed, and I figured instead of waiting for an email and filling out your form and everything, I just give a call. What's the price on that one?
Okay, I can definitely help you with that. My name is, who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
My name's Robbie.
All right, Miss Robbie, what's your last name and a good contact number for you, just in case we get disconnected?
If we do, I'll reach back out. I just really want the price. I don't want, a bunch of phone calls and stuff. So if you could just tell me the price, that would be great.
Okay, so I never recommend using getting disconnected as a reason to need someone's contact information. And this is exactly why we don't. If you get disconnected, the customer has redial. We don't have rotary phones. It doesn't take 20 minutes to dial a phone number anymore. All you literally have to do is hit redial. So using disconnected is not something that I ever recommend doing. It is way old school, of course, which some old school stuff is great. I love old school. I still have my Nintendo, but the purpose here is not to use a weak reason to need the contact info. It really is your inventory. And even if you say to the customer, let me go ahead and double check my inventory and see if that vehicle is still available. What's the best number to reach you back on? Is that a, home number, a cell number? And the customer goes, oh, well, I really just want to know if you have the vehicle. Okay, sure, no problem. By the way, my name is Maggie and your first name was, at least you can get on a first name basis and, try to move forward from there, build a little bit of rapport with the customer, and then hopefully circle back around towards getting their information later once they feel more comfortable with you. But disconnect, too easy of an excuse, and it's very hard to get around that once you've said it. It's hard to come up with another reason to need their information. However, if you use your inventory as leverage, there's other ways to go back around for the info.
I'm pulling it up for you right now, but we've been dropping calls all morning. That's the only reason why I explained it.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope y'all are able to get that fixed.
Okay.
I thought, with all the new technology and everything, we didn't have to worry about that no more.
No, sometimes just a signal is really what it is.
Y'all use cell phones? Is that why they drop so much?
No, it's landline.
Oh, that's strange that you got issues like that with a landline.
So this to me would be a red flag. I would find it very odd if a place that I was going to do business with was constantly losing phone calls and dropping calls consistently. Obviously, you can tell this rep is uncomfortable at this point because he doesn't know what to say. And it does sound a little bit like we don't have everything together if we say, oh, we're dropping calls all the time. I mean, as a business owner myself, if that was happening here, if you were calling me and we were dropping calls, you better believe I would have that fixed as soon as possible. I would be on top of that, contacting my carrier, trying to figure out what was going on and getting it resolved or switching to a different provider if it doesn't get resolved. So for me, I feel like we've gotten in a little deep now into the lie and he's sort of doesn't know what to say to get out of it. So just avoid disconnect altogether, trust me. I feel a little bit like whoever taught him to do this has done him a disservice, because it's not true that you're dropping calls and it's not true that you need the name and number in case you get disconnected. And when you get backed into this corner as a salesperson, now the whole rest of the call, they're going to be defensive and they're going to feel uncomfortable. And so it's not the rep's fault. Somebody obviously taught him to say this and encouraged him to say this. And I just feel bad for the guy because I'm sure this happens to him frequently. The other thing that would concern me if I was a consumer of this place of business is that if I buy a car from you, does that mean I'm going to have consistent trouble getting someone on the phone if you always have phone issues and you're obviously aware of them but not doing anything to fix them? So to me, this just leads me to believe that there's going to be additional issues with this business down the road.
Bless your heart.
And you said the 2010 Mercedes-Benz?
So the customer threw a bless your heart in there, and he just kind of scoffed at it. Very interesting. Bold move.
Yeah.
Okay. I see it right here. And it's listed at $8,977.
So before giving out the price, I would always try to ask the customer what their budget and their price range is first, so that way you have a good idea of whether this is going to be above, below, or within their price range.
Did you have time to take a look at it?
All right, so great job. He offered the appointment. I try to stay away from yes or no questions, like, did you have some time to stop and take a look at it? Instead, I would say, hey, so great news. It looks like it is still available. When is a great time for you to come in? We're open till 7 tonight. I have some time right now or a little bit later today. Which works better for you?
And then how does your financing and everything work? Like, what's your down payment? Are you guys buy here, pay here? How does that all work?
Okay, so how that works is you pick it out, we work it out. So you pick out your down payment, you pick out your monthly payment, and we work it out from there.
All right. So this was a it seems like a clear, obvious dodge of the question. So you pick it out, we work it out. Very interesting. I have not actually heard that in the 13 years that I've been doing this before. So, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true, right? I just don't really know about this. I think it's interesting to say, like, you tell us how much you want to spend, you tell us how much you have to put down, you tell us what your payments need to be, and we'll just figure it out because there are so many times that we can't just do those things. One of the things that my script used to say a long time ago for a pricing objection was like, we'll do everything we can to try to put you into a vehicle you'll love. And we actually had to take that out. You know why? Because when you're dealing with a challenge credit customer, it may not be the vehicle that they love, but it's the vehicle that they can afford. And they have to choose something they can afford so that down the road, once they've made payments on time, they can choose something they love. So you have to be very careful about saying these things because the last thing that you want to do is be like, yep, 100% approved, you pick it out, we work it out. Instead, it's more important that we take the opportunity to handle the objection properly. We don't even have this customer's contact information at this point because our approach was a little bit off. So instead, I would say something like, well, how much are you looking to spend monthly? And then work from there. Every payment is going to vary. It's going to depend on your vehicle and your vehicle needs. Really, the best thing for us to do is to have you come into the store and then we'll work everything out. Once you get here, we'll sit down together. We'll take a look at your budget, your payments, all those things, and we'll find a vehicle that's going to work for you based on your unique situation.
Okay, and then is it in-house or do you guys use outside lenders?
We have different programs that people qualify for.
Okay, and because one of the things I'm looking to do, I just finalized my divorce. My ex-husband ruined my credit, so I'm trying to get my everything back up. Do you guys report out to a credit bureau or?
Well, we do verify your information. So we do verify your information to make sure you are who you are.
So look, I know we get stuff stuck in our throat. We're on the phone all day. Your throat can get dry. Just make sure if this does happen to you, though, that you apologize because it's kind of gross for the person on the other end of the line. He did cough at the beginning of the call and he apologized then. So just be like, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, there's something stuck in my throat. He's been kind of clearing his throat throughout the entire conversation. Did you happen to notice, though, that he didn't answer her question? He said that they have to verify who they are, but that doesn't have anything to do with if they report to credit. So it should be a flat yes or no. Either yes, we do report your payment history, or we work with external lenders such as Capital One, and then they are going to report past due or on time payment history to the credit agencies, like something along those lines. Even if you don't know, like because you work with a bunch of different lenders, you can just say it kind of depends a little bit on the lender that we go with, but we do outside financing, so we're gonna do the best we can to try to find you a great rate at a payment that you can afford, and then we'd be able to answer that for you once a lender is chosen. Something like that would even work, but this is just, again, we're beating around the bush.
Okay, but do you report? Like, I've been looking at a bunch of different places, and like they'll say, if you're making your payments and everything, that it can help with your credit. And I'm just trying to find a place where if I'm going to be making payments, it's going to at least do something for me and try and fix what he messed up.
Well, yeah, that's us. We can help you out.
Okay.
I just gotta get some information from
Okay. All right. Well.
Information from me?
So again, no clear yes or no. And I teach objection handling techniques all the time. We literally have like 20 of them, and it's okay to have objection handling techniques. However, my goal is to answer the question without answering the question, and we still don't have a yes or no. We still don't understand how they work. So if I was a customer and I was calling this place and I'm trying to figure out, who do you do your lending with? Like, are you going to send my name into 20 different companies and run my credit 20 different times? Are you a buy here, pay here? What kind of interest rates am I going to get? Is this going to help build my credit? None of those questions have been answered. So the goal here during any sales call is to build value with your customer, to be honest with them, to build value, and at the end of the day, hopefully earn their business. And if you always dodge all of their questions with shady answers, you're going to have a really hard time getting customers to trust you over the phone because you haven't actually answered any of their questions. So let's take a payment, for example. It's very easy to just say to the customer, how much are you hoping to spend? And then when the customer says to you, well, I'm looking to spend around $300 to $425 a month. Okay, you know what? That's a very reasonable monthly payment amount depending on the type of vehicle you need and how much you're going to put down. Honestly, if you come on into the store, we'll see what we can do to help you out. But I won't know your exact monthly payment until you're here. You're still answering the question. You're just not giving her a number. If she says, do you report to the credit agencies? It's yes or no. Either we do or we don't. So we have to be careful with this. Like, I want to hear you answer a question without necessarily answering a question. You don't have to give numbers over the phone. If somebody says, what's the mileage on this vehicle? You can say, great question. Did you have a mileage range in mind? Yeah, I was hoping to be under 100. Well, great news. This one's at 70,000. Or, well, this one does look a little bit outside of your mileage range. We have plenty others that are available that do match your mileage range. Why don't you come on in and check out our inventory? And if the customer says, what's the mileage? Then give them the mileage. But there's ways around things by answering questions without answering. But completely ignoring the question and then just dodging it, that is, again, another red flag.
Well, I got a couple other calls that I want to look at. You know, I was looking at a bunch of different cars.
So right here is your opportunity to stop this customer because she's shopping around. Now, the average is 4.2 dealerships. A customer is spending around 14 hours of time online researching and then shopping about 4.2 stores. So you're not the only store that the customer is calling. So you want to take this opportunity to tell the customer what makes you different, what makes you unique, any warranties or features or anything like that that come with purchasing a vehicle from there so that you can catch them before they go. Now, a minute ago, you did also hear him try to get her contact information a second time, but again, our technique was off. Because we've dodged almost all of her questions and not really established any rapport with the customer, even upsetting her early on by telling her that we need her number because we drop calls like crazy, we haven't built enough of a relationship with this customer. So I don't know if you've ever heard the term desensitizing, but it is something that is used in sales techniques quite a bit. Basically, what happens is you get used to things, right? So say, for example, you call your bank and they ask you for your last four of your social, your address, and they want you to verify your full name and your account number. They're going to do all of those things before they'll even talk to you about your account. You know that before you call them because it happens every time you call. That's desensitizing. So you can actually use this as a sales technique in your conversations. And the way that it works is you spend some time talking with the customer about the type of vehicle that they're interested in, why they need it, what they need, are they open to other options, and then you go for contact info. And this allows you the ability to have a little bit of a conversation with them so that they don't feel uncomfortable when you get to asking for contact info because they've answered other questions that you've asked and you've taken that time to desensitize. So it's very important that if you do ask for contact information, that you're doing it properly. And then also you've had some conversation with the customer, you seem interested in helping them. And it's not just like, hey, give me your name and number in case we get disconnected because our phone lines are terrible and I don't have a reputable phone company.
I will reach back out if I want to move forward with this one then.
So this would be a great spot to say, I would love to send you a text message with my contact information. That way you can reach back out to me directly if you have any additional questions. What is the best number for me to text you on? Do you have a personal number or a work cell I can use? And this is a second opportunity for you to try to get contact information here and use it as a reason to need to be able to send them something. And then you can shoot them a text with your name and your phone number, and then it's easier for them to follow up with you.
Okay, no problem. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, so overall, one of the reasons that I really wanted to share this phone call is because I think, again, as I said in the beginning, there's a lot of stuff that is wrong with it. And I feel like calls like this do drag us down just a little bit because there's a lot of information and a lot of things that happen in this call that circle around the integrity of the business, right? Because we avoided answering questions, we lied to the customer about needing their contact information or why we need their contact information, unless this dealership really does have issues with their phones. And again, if that's the case, I advise you to reach out to your phone provider because it's unacceptable for any dealership to have issues where their phones are constantly dropping calls. I also think that phone calls like this need a little bit of structure. So at the beginning, I had high hopes when we started with the repetition process, but I was disappointed in the fact that we used the exact verbiage back to the customer and repeated it word for word to them instead of just taking a bit like, hey, the vehicle that you're interested in, or the year of the vehicle, or even the color, or something along those lines, and just repeating a portion of it back to them. We don't want to sound like a parrot, so we don't want to say it word for word, right? We want to just pluck a bit of it. And then after that, try to compliment the vehicle, create some urgency. Again, you're free to use verbiage here that you like. But then after that, circle towards contact info, ask about alternate makes and models. You can go ahead and even do that before you ask for contact information if you want. It really doesn't matter. One of the main things that we want to do here is establish a relationship. I usually try to get contact info before asking about alternates because it can make the customer feel like it's a bait and switch otherwise. But in some situations, it's better to do it the other way around because then you can get that relationship and that desensitization going. And that way, it allows you to be able to create a better connection with your customer. Once you have contact information and you've talked to them about alternate options, that's when you want to invite them in. And remember that how you ask for the appointment is very important. If you're doing it weekly, you're going to struggle to get them in. Remember, I've said this many times, equate it to money. If you're asking for cash, would you collect the cash? Based on the way that you're asking for the appointment, you always want to make sure that you're authoritative in your verbiage choices and that you're always going for that locked in appointment time. Now, the other thing that I will also add in here is we should try to ask for the appointment at least twice and then handle the customer's objections by answering the questions without answering the questions. She asked about price, she asked about financing, and she asked about credit building. We never actually answered any of those questions. And if I was this customer, I would not feel confident choosing this place to purchase a vehicle from because I didn't actually get any solid answers anywhere about anything. Once you get to the end of the call, make sure the customer knows how to get to the dealership. Offer to text over your contact info. Again, another way to get her number from her. And then make sure that you recap any future follow up intentions. We can't follow up with a customer whose contact information we don't have. So there's so many things that are going on here and that we're missing in this conversation. And while I'm always open to alternate methods of doing things, I don't recommend that you follow a path like this. I still think that honesty is the best policy. I think following a process in order to use customer psychology to help you help the customer is a much better path than not answering questions or circling around them or, in certain cases, using disconnect as a reason for contact info. It's just not necessary. You don't have to do it if you build a good enough relationship with your customer. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Elevate with C&M Coaching. If you happen to be in the Houston area, I'm going to be teaching a class at HIADA. It is actually on Monday, so it's not that far away. It's just about 5 days. It's Monday, October 9th. And if you're interested, you can go to the HIADA website or Google HIADA and it'll pull up and you can go ahead and get registered and signed up for that. And I'm going to be teaching a class on internet leads. And part of the reason that I'm focusing heavily on internet leads is because I went through the dashboard and I was looking at the statistics on our dashboard, and out of 370 mystery shops, 93% of them went an hour or didn't get a phone call at all. So we have some work to do here in this department, so I really want to focus on internet leads as heavily as possible. I'm also going to be speaking at Dealer Used Car Week, which I am super excited about. If you are interested in attending Google Dealer Used Car Week, it is in Scottsdale, Arizona. I am super excited. It is going to be November 6th through the 10th. It's like that whole week. I am speaking on the 7th. I also just recorded a podcast with Andy Friedlander for that, which should be posting soon, and I will share that as soon as it becomes available. So if you have any questions, please feel free to always reach out to me at maggie@cnmcoaching.com. Remember to type out AND. And if you have any additional questions or concerns, I'm always here to help you. And thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.